Have you ever met someone who just feels off, but they smile, hug your mom, and say all the right things? Yeah, the devil doesn't come wearing horns. He shows up as your friend, your partner, sometimes even your favorite cousin, charming on the outside, soul-splitting on the inside. Their mission, not to love you, not to help you, but to break your peace, drain your energy, and quietly burn your life to the ground, one innocent moment at a time. This isn't superstition, it's spiritual warfare in plain clothes. These people are agents of chaos. And the worst part, they don't come screaming through the door. They slide in, compliment your haircut, and start planting landmines under your joy. But once you see the signs, really see them, you'll never fall for it again. So don't blink, don't skip, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly who in your life might be heaven sent and who's got the devil on speed dial. Hit subscribe now, because protecting your peace is not optional, it's survival. Let's dive right into the first sign. They create constant chaos. Have you ever met someone who, no matter the circumstance, seems to carry a storm cloud with them, and they like it that way? 1 minute, everything is calm. You're enjoying a quiet morning, maybe sipping coffee on your porch, thinking today will be peaceful. Then you get that phone call, it's them. And just like that, your mood shifts. By the time the call ends, you're confused, upset, maybe even arguing with someone else entirely. And you don't even remember how it started. That's no accident. These people don't just stumble into chaos, they manufacture it quietly, strategically, and they do it with the same precision and consistency as someone setting traps in a field. This is the first and most telling sign that someone in your life may have been sent by the devil. They create constant, low-grade chaos that wears you down over time. I remember a man named Richard, a retired police officer I met during a grief support group years ago. A solid man, 68 years old, weathered and wise, but he was exhausted. Not from his job, not from his health, but from his son-in-law. This boy, he told me, walks into a room, and suddenly everyone's tense. Jokes turn into insults. Holidays turn into battlegrounds. But he never raises his voice, never says anything too bad, just enough to twist the knife without leaving a mark. What broke Richard's heart most wasn't the direct insults. It was how this man slowly turned his daughter against the family. And every time Richard tried to make peace, it backfired, making him look like the troublemaker. That's the thing about chaos creators. They burn the house down, then act confused about the smoke. Now, here's the deeper truth. Not all drama is the same. Ordinary people have arguments. We all mess up, say the wrong thing, make amends. But the kind of conflict we're talking about here doesn't come from stress or misunderstanding. It comes from design. These people feed on attention, on division. They sow confusion so subtly that even the wisest among us start second-guessing reality. That's psychological warfare. And it's why you feel like you're walking on eggshells around them. You're not crazy. You're in the middle of a spiritual ambush. Stoic philosophy offers radical clarity in moments like this. Epictetus reminds us, we are not disturbed by things, but by the views which we take of them. These individuals want you emotionally entangled, reactive, off-center. Why? Because when you're constantly putting out fires, you're too distracted to build anything meaningful. You don't have time to think deeply, love freely, or grow spiritually. That's the real goal, not just to upset you, but to derail your entire direction in life. You must understand the psychology at play. These people often carry unresolved wounds, narcissism, envy, insecurity, and instead of healing, they spread the damage to everyone around them. And they pick targets like you, emotionally intelligent, forgiving, Resilient because they know you'll give them another chance, and another, until one day you look up and realize you're more anxious, more isolated, and less yourself than ever before. Here's the Stoic solution: detachment, not denial. You don't need to confront them with fireworks. You need to reclaim your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do, only what you do." You can't stop them from being who they are, but you can stop giving them the fuel. Limit their access. Respond with calm. Observe without absorbing. And slowly, their grip loosens. If there's someone in your life who always seems to be at the center of every storm, it's not coincidence. It's not bad luck. It's a warning. Don't ignore it. Don't excuse it. Recognize it for what it is: a test of your boundaries, your focus, your soul. Chaos is the devil's playground, but peace is your armor. Wear it like your life depends on it, because it does. Now, let's move on to the second powerful sign. They isolate you from your support systems. There's a quiet kind of sabotage that doesn't scream, doesn't slam doors, and doesn't come with dramatic exits. It happens slowly, subtly, until one day you look around and realize that the people who once gave your life color have all faded into the background. And the worst part, you didn't push them away. Someone else did, on your behalf. Isolation isn't always forced. Often, it's suggested and encouraged, masked as protection or love. The isolator doesn't come out and say, "Cut them off." Instead, they plant doubts. They tilt your perception just enough. They frame concern as control. Suddenly, your sister's honesty feels hostile. Your best friend's absence becomes suspicious. And before you realize it, the relationships that held you up feel like burdens you need to escape. This isn't coincidence. It's manipulation engineered to corner you. And that's what makes it spiritually dangerous. When one person becomes your entire emotional ecosystem, they also become your only source of truth, and control over your reality follows quickly after. The Stoics warned against giving anyone that much influence. Epictetus taught that the highest form of strength is in guarding our inner freedom, especially from those who dress control up as love. A person who isolates you doesn't just want your attention. They want authority over your identity. Now, to be clear, healthy boundaries are not the same as calculated distance. Boundaries protect. Isolation weakens. One makes space for other good things to grow. The other makes room only for dependence. This distinction matters, especially as we get older and begin to value our peace more than ever. Because when you're isolated, your sense of self begins to erode, not in big collapses, but in daily silences, skipped calls, and quiet doubts that you start to believe are your own. The psychology of the isolator is rarely chaotic. In fact, they often appear calm, composed, even noble. But underneath is a deep need to be indispensable, to keep you small enough to need them, and unsure enough to trust no one else. That's not care, that's captivity. And while it may feel like comfort in the beginning, the end result is always the same: emotional captivity dressed up as closeness. To free yourself, you have to first recognize the pattern. Ask yourself, do I feel more alone now than I did before this person entered my life? Have I started questioning people I once trusted implicitly? Do I feel like my circle has quietly closed in on just one person? If the answer is yes, then you already know. The Stoics wouldn't tell you to confront them with fury. They'd tell you to act with clarity, reclaim your time, reinvest in the relationships that don't ask you to shrink. And most importantly, trust your gut. Because often, it's not confusion you're feeling, it's the awareness that someone else has been steering your ship. It's time to take the wheel back. Now, let's continue our journey into the third sign. They drain your energy and resources. Did you know the average adult in America today reports feeling mentally and emotionally drained at least 4 days a week, even if nothing catastrophic has happened? That's not just burnout. Sometimes it's a symptom of who you're allowing into your emotional and spiritual space. You don't need to be in a toxic argument to be under attack. Sometimes it's the quiet, consistent erosion of your energy by someone who never seems to leave you in peace. These people don't arrive with red flags. They arrive with needs, vulnerability, and an uncanny ability to turn your compassion into a permanent fuel source for their chaos. And that's where the danger lies. Because while you're focused on being helpful, generous, and a good person, they're feeding on your energy, like it's their survival plan. This is the third sign that someone in your life may be sent not to help your journey, but to sabotage it quietly. They drain your energy and resources. These individuals don't storm into your life. They seep in slowly, strategically, and they disguise their presence behind socially acceptable behaviors. They're not shouting at you, they're relying on you. They're not insulting you, they're confiding in you. And in the beginning, it feels like a bond. But as time goes on, you start to feel the symptoms. You feel emotionally emptied after every interaction. Your schedule gets rearranged to accommodate their emergencies. Your finances start bending around their poor decisions. You might even find yourself justifying why your life seems to be paused while theirs is always in motion on your energy. What makes these people so hard to spot is that they operate beneath the threshold of offense. They're rarely overtly cruel, but they are relentless in how much they expect from you, how little they give in return, and how subtly they make you believe that helping them is your responsibility. This isn't friendship. This is dependency dressed up as connection. And for kind-hearted, emotionally intelligent people, especially older adults who've spent a lifetime caring for others, it becomes a deeply dangerous trap, because the more you give, the more they expect. And the more they take, the more invisible your own needs become. Psychologically, these individuals often carry an underlying sense of entitlement or unresolved trauma they've never worked through. Rather than healing, they outsource the emotional labor to others you. And once they identify you as someone with a generous spirit, they anchor in. The Stoics warned us about this not in modern language, but in principle. Epictetus taught that it is not our job to carry every burden handed to us, especially when it steals our ability to carry our own. If your energy is your currency in life, these people are overdrafting your account daily and blaming the bank. The Stoic path offers a firm, clear alternative. Protect your peace as a sacred duty. Ask yourself honestly after spending time with someone, do I feel stronger or do I feel depleted? Do I leave conversations feeling seen and respected or used and guilty? These are the diagnostic questions of spiritual survival. Because here's the truth. When your energy is constantly diverted to those who refuse to grow, your own life stagnates. Your health declines. Your goals gather dust. And your spirit, once bright and sharp, grows dim. It's not cruel to set boundaries. It's cruel to allow yourself to be slowly drained until nothing's left. You are not created to be a power source for someone else's dysfunction. You are made to build, to love, to contribute on your own terms. And anyone who consistently leaves you with less energy than you started with deserves limited access, not unlimited forgiveness. The Stoics would not tell you to argue. They'd tell you to act 2 steps back, to conserve your fire for something greater than someone who treats it like it's theirs to burn. If that realization hurts, it should. Because the damage these people cause often goes unspoken, but never unfelt. Protect your strength. Reclaim your direction. And if you must help, help from a place of balance, not sacrifice. You are not the cure for someone else's refusal to take responsibility. Let's continue exploring the fourth sign. They deliberately discourage your spiritual growth. There's a type of attack that doesn't bruise your skin, drain your wallet, or tear apart your schedule. It goes deeper, beneath the surface of your everyday life, right down to the roots of who you are. It targets your faith, not the faith you wear on your sleeve, but the quiet belief that's helped you through hospital rooms, gravesides, and long nights of not knowing what comes next. When someone tries to separate you from that anchor, it's not a disagreement, it's a dismantling. This is the fourth sign someone in your life may have been sent not to challenge you, but to weaken the very thing that's kept you alive, your spiritual foundation. It rarely begins with confrontation. It often starts with cleverness, a question here, a smirk there. Slowly, your belief in prayer, in divine order, in the hard-won wisdom that carried your parents and grandparents is chipped away. They present themselves as curious thinkers, as enlightened minds who've outgrown traditional beliefs. But watch closely. Their curiosity only moves in one direction, away from faith, away from discipline, away from humility. What they call questioning is often just erosion with better marketing. I remember an older gentleman named Samuel, a widower in his 70s. He'd spent decades rooted in the quiet strength of his faith, never loud about it, just steady. After his wife passed, he grew closer to a much younger neighbor who would often stop by to chat over coffee. At first, it felt like companionship, but over time, the conversations turned. Subtle jabs at the church, jokes about outdated values, philosophical challenges that left Samuel doubting not just his beliefs, but his memories. He began skipping Sunday service. Then he stopped reading scripture altogether. It just doesn't feel the same anymore, he told me one day, eyes hollow in a way I hadn't seen before. What that neighbor stole wasn't just time, it was peace. The people who wage this kind of spiritual warfare don't wear villain on their faces. They come off as intelligent, worldly, open-minded. But if you look closely, you'll notice a pattern. Your moral compass starts spinning. Your sacred routines get replaced with vague spirituality, and slowly, what once gave you strength starts to feel like a burden. Stoic philosophy warns us about this very manipulation. The Stoics knew that a disciplined soul, a person grounded in something bigger than themselves, is resilient. That's why the forces working against you don't try to beat you down, they try to unmoor you. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." But what happens when someone convinces you that mastery is unnecessary, that truth is relative, and faith is just folklore? You're not freer, you're more easily controlled. These people don't simply disagree with your beliefs, they strategically undermine them when you're most vulnerable, when you've lost a loved one, when life feels unfair, when you're doubting yourself. That's when they show up not to lift you, but to redirect you toward confusion. And confusion left unchecked becomes spiritual paralysis. You stop growing. You stop reaching for what's good and right. You numb out instead of seeking clarity. The Stoics taught that virtue requires clarity. And clarity comes from protecting your inner fortress, your guiding principles, your soul's compass. If someone in your life consistently leaves you feeling uncertain after every deep conversation, if their questions lead not to growth, but to guilt, not to peace, but to internal chaos, it's time to step back. Protect the light that has carried you through darkness. It may not be flashy or trendy, but it's yours. And anyone trying to steal it, no matter how polite, smart, or seemingly supportive, isn't leading you toward truth. They're pulling you away from it. Recognizing that isn't paranoia, it's discernment. And in today's world, discernment is your last line of defense. Don't let someone else's crisis of belief become the reason you abandon your own. Sign 5. They mirror your deepest insecurities and use them as weapons. He who wounds us in our weakness does not seek to teach us, but to rule us. There's a unique kind of cruelty in the world, one that doesn't show up in raised voices or physical harm, but in subtle words timed with surgical precision. You feel it when someone brings up your deepest insecurities, not in a moment of support, but in a moment designed to cut you down. This is more than emotional immaturity. It's a calculated form of control. And it brings us to the fifth and final sign that someone in your life may not just be difficult, but deliberately placed to derail you. They identify and weaponize your insecurities. Most people take time to get to know you. They slowly discover your quirks, your soft spots, your history. But these individuals, let's call them spiritual infiltrators, seem to scan your vulnerabilities instantly, like a heat-seeking missile. They know how to say just the right thing to make your confidence evaporate. They remember your lowest moments with uncanny clarity and pull them out at the worst possible time, not to help you heal, but to make sure you never rise too high above them. And here's the worst part. They don't begin this way. At first, they're the safe space. They ask you to open up, to trust, to confide. You feel seen, understood? But what you're really doing is handing over the blueprint to your soul one they'll later use against you. You might think, well, maybe they're just brutally honest. But honesty without compassion isn't truth. It's ammunition. They couch their criticism in the language of help. I'm just telling you this for your own good, they'll say, as they strike where they know it'll hurt the most. They might even present themselves as your only source of real feedback, subtly implying that others are just coddling you. But the goal is always the same: keep you small, unsure, off balance. The Stoics warned us about people like this, though they didn't use our modern language. Epictetus said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. Anyone who keeps you tethered to your worst moments, your past failures, or your self-doubt is not a companion. They're an anchor." These people have a psychological profile that's hard to ignore. Often insecure themselves, they can't tolerate someone around them growing, healing, or becoming confident because it shines a light on their own stagnation. And so, rather than rising, they pull others down to stay in control. And if you've spent years working to rebuild your confidence after trauma, heartbreak, or failure, they'll see that glow and move quickly to smother it, not with rage, but with reminders of who you are, of what you've done wrong, of where you've fallen short. These aren't missteps, they're tactics. When your internal dialogue starts sounding like their voice, when you begin preemptively doubting yourself before you even try, that's when you know the damage has set in. From a spiritual perspective, this is deadly because your purpose is directly tied to your sense of worth. If someone can make you believe you're unworthy, they don't have to destroy you, you'll do it yourself. That's the long game these manipulators play. They don't need control of your decisions if they already control your self-perception. Take stock of the people in your life who consistently make you feel smaller, dimmer, ashamed, who always seem to remind you of what you're not instead of what you could be. That's not accountability, that's erosion. And it's not love, it's sabotage. The Stoics believed in progress, not perfection, growth, not guilt. The people in your circle should reflect those values. If they don't, then no matter how familiar they feel, they are not safe. You are never meant to live in a mental prison built out of words that only echo your worst fears. You are meant to walk in purpose, guided by a strong mind and a steady heart. And anyone who tries to steal that from you, whether through manipulation, criticism, or tough love, is not part of your journey. They are an obstacle to overcome. Recognize them, release them, and return to the truth. You are not your fears. You are who you choose to become beyond them. If you've seen even one of these signs show up in someone close to you, don't brush it off. Don't laugh it away or say, "Well, nobody's perfect." These aren't quirks, they're spiritual warning flares, chaos creators, isolation experts, emotional leeches, faith assassins, and those slick little insecurity snipers. They don't come with pitchforks, they come wearing smiles and calling you friend. But now you see it. You feel it. That tension in your chest isn't overreacting, it's discernment. Don't wait for more damage. Don't wait until you're drained alone and doubting your own worth. Take your peace seriously. The devil doesn't need to destroy you if he can distract, deplete, and disorient you. But you've just taken the first step in breaking that cycle by seeing it for what it is. So, here's what you do now. Trust that gut feeling. Build distance without guilt. Reconnect with people who want to see you rise and protect your light like it's your lifeline, because it is. If this video made something click, hit that subscribe button. Seriously, don't walk back into darkness when you've just been handed the flashlight. Your freedom starts here. And the next video? It might just be the next step to reclaiming everything they tried to take from you.